Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time for week 4 NFL discussion and reaction as a whole. Hoping y'all are having a good day. So, crazy week. I wouldn't say is a lot of shocking results, as many as week 3 or week 2 we saw. But we saw some pretty interesting things happen over the week. And well, things are definitely changing. And we're kind of starting to see a couple teams make their mark in, I guess, from a perspective of, hey, we're going to be pretty good this year. Or those first couple of weeks were all for show. Those first couple of weeks were just not our best performances, but we're not out of it by any means type of stuff. So, I mean, there's a lot to take away. We're starting to kind of figure out the identity of teams now at this point. Um, so, I mean, well, why not just go ahead and get started here with a Thursday night game? Again, before I kind of get more into the intricacies of this Dallas New York game, can I start the sentence again? I think that the new Thursday night format that they've been doing, or the Thursday night schedule more specifically, I actually really like. I like the idea of let's try and make the bulk of our schedule divisional matchups so that the games become important and more chaotic. And like these last two games have been a bit of duds. I will be honest. Giants and Cowboys and the Jets and Patriots last week. And frankly, that Miami-Buffalo game wasn't nearly as good as what we all thought it was going to be, but there are certain other reasons for that. But I think we got a really good one coming up next week, or this week. Tampa and Atlanta. I think that's going to be a really good game. NFC South divisional games, especially when the division's pretty good and competitive, are usually pretty tight. So I'm thinking that this will be a good one. Then you got San Francisco and Seattle right after. And then you got this string of 3 weeks where there aren't divisional matchups, but it's nice for in the middle of the season. You got Denver, New Orleans, Minnesota and LA should be good. Houston and New York, the Jets should be good. And you're right back to divisional matchups up until the last Thursday night game in Week 17, where it's Seattle and Chicago. So I like that new format that they've been trying to hit with, and it's working. Anyways, enough about that. Dallas, New York. Yeah, as I said, bit of a snooze fest. Not too much to really kind of write home about. Honestly, we kind of expected what happened here, though it was a little closer, I think, than I would have guessed it was going to be. But, yeah, Dallas has just absolutely owned the Giants here. There's one guarantee right now. It is the Dallas Cowboys beating the Giants twice a year. They've been doing that for a long time. And so, yeah. CeeDee Lamb had a nice game. Did get that taunting penalty after the touchdown catch, but I mean, he scored a touchdown. Yeah, it's whatever. But yeah, Daniel Jones looked not great. Malik Neighbors looked good again, but he did go down with that. Connect, thank you. Reconnecting. Let's go. Okay, there we go. We're good. I'm getting real tired of having to jostle between this. The internet connection is just crapping out once like every 15 minutes. And it is really frustrating to say the least. But we're managing. We're trying to make it work. Anyways, there's the Giants Cowboys. Let's move on to what Sunday had to offer. We'll start. Let's see. Let's start with I'm trying to find a path here. Okay, I got a path. I got a path of where I'm gonna go here. We're gonna start with the Saints and Falcons. Great game. One of the cool things that I saw going into this thing, the all-time series was tied 55-55. Or what? Did they have a tie in there? Let me double check. I took a picture of this. Yeah. 55-55 was the all-time series between the Falcons and Saints going into this game. And they said the only time the Saints have ever led in this series was a 1-0 series lead. When the Saints won the first game in 1967, they have not had a lead in this series since. So, they were trying to see that happen. They're going to have to wait at least almost guaranteed pretty much a full calendar year here. They're not going to have to win the next game they play, which is, let's see, when do they play again? Week 10. So the Saints are going to have to win at home in Week 10, and then they're going to have to win the first game next year to get that, to try and get their first series lead since 67 in over 50 years. Closing on 60 years here in a couple of years. But yeah. Pretty good game. Got to see a couple nice plays. You know, the Falcons scored 2 touchdowns in this game. And neither of them were by the offense. It was a muffed punt that was recovered in the end zone, so that means it stands for a touchdown. And then you got a pick six. Okay. You got pick six. So yeah, pretty interesting stuff there. Well, again, pretty good match. And then the Saints touchdowns all came rushing. They were all rushing. Carr handed off to Alvin Kamara to take the lead late. The other 2 touchdowns were on a direct snap to Taysom Hill and a handoff to Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill back in and making things happen. What a weird timeline in 2024. But yeah, pretty good game. Falcons win it late because Younghoe Koo, the GOAT, kicks 4 field goals, including a career-long 58-yarder. He looked really good. And, well, the Falcons escape, and they get to 2-2. They avoid the 1-3 hole. And that's really, really important going forward for Atlanta. Got Tampa Bay this week at home. Then they get Carolina on the road. So they got 3 straight division games here. And then it's home for Seattle. They're on the road against Tampa Bay. So they got 4 division games in 5 weeks. And then it's a game against Dallas. And then their 5th division game against New Orleans. And then they won't play another one until week 18. But they get a lot of their division games in this stretch here. So this will be crucial going forward in terms of tiebreakers and all that stuff and whatnot. Anyways, my webcam just decided to crap out. I didn't realize that. Philly Tampa Bay is next. That's the next one on the list. So, what have we got here? What the hell happened here? What? Like, Tampa Bay, a week after getting destroyed, and my webcam just died again. I don't know why. Tampa Bay, a week after getting destroyed, and I mean destroyed, at home against Denver. They come back a week later at home against a much tougher opponent in Philadelphia, who they have owned who they owned the last time they played. Owned them again. They They were out for revenge for this one. They overlooked Denver, and well, they made Philly pay. Holy cow, they made them pay, and the Bucks jump out to a 24-0 lead, and by the time Philly scored at the end of the half, it was like, well, I mean, there's still a chance. I mean, it's still a 3-possession game, but it's not happening, and it didn't happen. 33-16. Philly tried, but didn't really work. And that's a tough loss for Philly after winning against New Orleans. They've had 2 pretty bad losses in 3 games against the NFC South. And, well, they're in a position where this is the self-reflection week. They're on a bye week. And we're going to get into our first buys here. Ugh, man, it's a tough one right there. Yeah. Philadelphia is at a crossroads in the season, and the bye week not really helping. But, their schedule does ease up here with Cleveland and New York right out the gate from the bye week. So that should help them if they're struggling. But, it's just like they're a bit inconsistent right now. Jalen Hurts has looked pretty bad in a couple games. That one his worst outing, I'd say. But not a good showing from the Eagles. Bucks, that's a really good showing. Especially after the slower start. Really good showing there. And so, yeah. Anyways, we'll go ahead and move on. Moving on, here we go. Bengals, Panthers. Well, I mean, that was short-lived. That was kind of expected. We expected to see Cincinnati go out and get their first win of the year. I mean, even though they were 0-3 and looked pretty, and their defenses looked really bad. I mean, this was a game they had to win, and they did. Well, and frankly, it doesn't get easier. They get Baltimore at home next week, but, it's still Baltimore. And then you got the Giants, so that should, then you got the Giants and the Browns, which, you think could possibly help. But, their schedule easing up here a little bit. But, again, they really should be 2-2 because they really shouldn't have lost to New England. And they really shouldn't have lost to Kansas City either. So there's a couple things about this Bengals team that's like that. There are 2 losses here that are really killing them. So yeah, I don't know. Anyways, Andy Dalton looked good. Joe Burrow looked good again. He's looked good the past 3 weeks. Like, Joe Burrow is not the reason why this team's losing football games. At least not from what I've seen. He's just, I mean, he's just kind of lucky that he was able to stop a Panthers offense. That the defense actually showed up. Because that defense is struggling right now. It doesn't get easier with Baltimore, who I'll touch upon here in a minute. In a while. But, yeah. Big win for Cincy. They needed that one badly. Especially with the Ravens next week at home. Can they get it done? Who knows? Anyways, we're going to go ahead and carry on here. That's what I was going to do. All right, we're going to go ahead and jump to Minnesota and Green Bay. Dude, I don't know why they started Love. He didn't get hurt or anything, but I didn't love the idea. I would have sat him for another week. Because guess what? They still lost. And weirdly enough, Malik Willis is 2-0 as Packers quarterback. Jordan Love is 0-2 as Packers quarterback right now. So, I mean, I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really like Jordan Love's performance. You can say, oh, but he threw 4 touchdowns and everything. Like, there was one that was in complete garbage time. And He threw 3 picks. Like, I'm sorry. If you're going to be paid $55 million a year, you shouldn't throw 3 picks in a game, especially against a division rival. This stuff is amplified against division rivals. I would know, but it's like if you're getting paid that much, you shouldn't be turning the ball over that much. Which is why I think it's ridiculous why he got paid that much. I think he needed to be extended, yes, because again, that was the downside of letting Green Bay letting Jordan Love sit as long as he did, was the fact that kind of his first year starting was a contract year somewhat. So he made it work, and he had good games at the end of the year and had a good run to end the season. And they paid him the big bucks, and I mean the big bucks. It is wild. This guy's getting paid $55 million a year because of 8 great games that he played last year. And yeah, he's 0-2 so far. He's thrown 4 picks in 2 games, which is just flat out not good. I really don't care how many touchdowns he's thrown because he's lost 2 games. And a big reason why he's lost both of his games is because he's turned the ball over. So I think that's the number one thing. He's got to clean it up. And frankly, it's a big reason why they lost. Minnesota jumped out to a 21-0 lead, and pretty much the game was over. It was a 28-0 lead, if I'm correct. It was a 28-0 lead, and the game was over at that point. I mean, the score is 31-29 at the end of the game, but that game wasn't close. And Jordan Love was driving to try and keep him in the game and everything, and threw a couple bad picks. That one in the end zone late in the game, that pretty much when they were down 2 scores, that was just a bad. That was not good. And then they turned it over one more time, so they turned it over 4 times because I think it was Tucker Kraft who fumbled it, but still it was like it was over. Minnesota proving they were legit, though I do get concerned that they did let Jordan Love throw all those yards late in that game. But again, who knows? Maybe that was the intention. Let them bleed clock, prevent defense, zone type stuff, letting them get chunk plays. But I wasn't thoroughly impressed with Green Bay at all, even though they only lost by 2 points. They'd already lost the game by the end of the first half. Minnesota looks like the real deal right now. They're going to go into London and they're going to smoke the Jets, if this is the case right now, because this is just ridiculous. And I think it's fair. Speaking of their next opponent, let's go ahead and jump to Denver, New York, because the Vikings look really good right now. Again, they're one of 2 4-0 teams left in the league. One of 2 undefeated teams in the league. And they've won 3 in a row against San Francisco, Houston, and Green Bay. Pretty good resume so far, if you ask me. They're going to get the Jets in London, and then they go on the bye because they played in London. So, I mean, there's a very, very good chance that they're 5-0 at the break, which, frankly, I'm going to be honest, at the beginning of the season, before the season started, if you go back and watch my NFC North Division preview, I had the Vikings going 0-5 to start the year. Freezing cold takes exposed right there. That is, I mean, I am trying to take full ownership. Sam Darnold has been the total opposite of the quarterback that I thought he was going to be. And with how the Jets played on Sunday, they are going to smoke them. The Jets were at home against a Denver team that could not throw and lost without scoring a touchdown. They lost 10-9 with Aaron Rodgers getting the ball with under a minute and a half left after Denver's kicker missed a field goal, only needing a field goal to win the game. Greg Zuerlein missed a 50-yarder as well. This was just a bad performance. A bad performance from the Jets. They couldn't get things moving, and when they got opportunities, they couldn't finish. So Denver gets a win somehow, some way. Bo Nix finally throws his first touchdown pass. Good for Bo Nix. But Denver's passing offense didn't look good still. So we'll just have to wait and see with Denver. I don't know how much it doesn't really. Well, it does actually get easier. They get they get the Raiders at home, so that's better. But we'll get to the Raiders here in a minute. But yeah. Anyways, let's go ahead and I'm going to do this. We'll see if we can get some more people in here before I get to the Bears game. I'm going to try and go the opposite direction of the train of thought I was going to go for here. We're going to go to Jacksonville, Houston. Damn, Jacksonville. That's brutal. So many opportunities they squandered in this game. They really should have had a 2-possession lead in the fourth quarter, but decided to go for a touchdown. It didn't work, and yeah, they lost. Not great. Let Houston hang around, and they made the plays when it mattered, and C.J. Stroud threw the game-winning touchdown pass on a goal to go. Jacksonville just looks really bad right now. That's 3 one-score losses. You lose on a game-losing field goal against Miami week 1 with a 14-point lead. You just absolutely blow it against Cleveland. How in the world they lost that game, I don't understand. You get absolutely trounced in Buffalo, and you go to Houston, and you're just meh. Well, I mean, if there's any security for Jacksonville, they get the Colts at home next week as an 0-4 team here. I mean, they haven't lost to the Colts at home in at least a decade, I think, is the streak now. I think it's been it's 10 wins. It's been a long, long time since the Colts have won in Jacksonville. And that's with Jacksonville having back-to-back seasons where they were the worst team in the league, including a 1-15 season where the only win was a win at home against Indianapolis. So if the Jacksonville Jaguars cannot win against the Indianapolis Colts at home next week, that just shows you that something is ridiculously wrong. I think that might actually be the straw that gets Doug Peterson fired. Who knows? Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. Maybe if he loses to Chicago and New England, or maybe if he goes 0-2 at London, maybe that's where it ultimately, or he ultimately gets canned. Who knows? I mean, he's probably the guy that's on the hot seat, the hottest. He's on the hot. He's got. Oh my God. Can I finish the sentence? Doug Peterson's probably the coach that's on the hottest seat right now. Doug Peterson doesn't know what he's doing. He's 0-4 now. And Trevor Lawrence is just not getting it done. He's just not getting it done. He's got 3 games that, frankly, that they could win. That if they go 1-2 in these next 3 games, I mean, that is damning to their season. With Jacksonville, with Indy at home, Chicago and New England in London. So I mean, they gotta get 2 wins here, their next 3 games here. But speaking of Indianapolis, we're gonna jump to Pittsburgh, Indianapolis. I wanted to initially talk about this game after the Bears-Rams game, but I was initially gonna then talk about Jacksonville-Houston after this one. So I'm flipping it all. Wow. I mean, I thought I kind of had a feeling like it was coming. I had a feeling, Pittsburgh was going to lose a game here against maybe a team that they shouldn't have lost against. And they did. They went down 17-0, but that's also partially their fault for injuring Anthony Richardson. Because Joe Flacco went in and he did great. Because, to be honest, Anthony Richardson did not look good against Chicago. He did not look good against the Bears. But he got hurt early. And then Joe Flacco stepped in and, did what he needed to do. That's the bottom line. He did what he needed to do. And the Colts won. Now, the Colts tried to give that game away, but, held on. Here's why they held on. Justin Fields cannot win a game when trailing. He cannot. Trust me, I saw it so many times in Chicago. So many times. How many times did Justin Fields have the ball down one possession on the final drive of the game and lose? In various different ways. Threw a pick, failed fourth down conversion, fumbled, etc. Like, how many times did it happen? Too many to count. I can only count, and I'm being serious when I say this, I only count one time off the top of my head. One time that Justin Fields led a comeback drive down a possession to a game-winning score. And that was last year on Monday Night Football, where the Bears are down 1 point after he had fumbled the previous 2 drives, by the way. He had fumbled the previous 2 drives and then led a comeback field goal winning drive the last drive of the game. That's the only time where he led a game-winning drive when trailing. Because technically he led a game-winning drive when they beat the Texans in 2022, but that was because he had maybe like 3 yards to gain because Roquan Smith led them to a field goal right there, but that was a game-winning drive while they were tied. But still, just anti-clutch. But I will give him props, though. In Chicago, Justin Fields played his worst football game in, game out in the fourth quarter. Worst football. Just could not hold a lead. Turning the ball over in the fourth quarter was his biggest weakness. He was doing it so much in Chicago. And frankly, he was just down. He got all his turnovers out before. I'll be honest, that might have been his worst turnover. That fumble where he should have just gone down, but he decided to stay on his feet to try and make a play. Maybe the worst lowlight of his career right now. That was just absolutely terrible. That cannot happen. That was horrible. Absolutely horrible. And he tried, and he led 3 touchdown drives in the second half. I will give him credit there. Like, he did. 2 rushing touchdowns and a passing touchdown. He did his job and made that a game. But, of course, he got the ball with 1 possession left with under 3 minutes to go, and it didn't work out because it never works out with Fields. And unfortunately, Steelers fans are going to have to understand that real quick. If Fields is not playing with the lead, he cannot come back in games. He did. This is probably the best comeback effort he's had. I'm going to be honest. But he just cannot come back in games. He just cannot do it. And Colts hung on. They're 2-2 now. And I don't even know if Richardson starts next week. Because, again, what a dumb decision by the Colts to throw Anthony Richardson back out there. And on the first play, he gets shaken up and blasted again. Like, I don't know what they're doing with him. And they're ruining him right now. Because now that's the second concussion he's suffered in 2 years in the league. Oh, by the way, he's 22. He's my age. I don't know, man. That's some mismanagement right there. And that's not... Yeah, Anthony Richardson, hopefully the guy gets better. But not what I'm looking for from the Colts there. But Joe Flacco is a great backup. He'll be very, very serviceable. Arguably better than Anthony Richardson. That's what I'm most trying to say. Anyways, moment that plenty of people are here waiting for. Let's talk about the Bears game. Bears win in a game that felt pretty complete. Not incredibly flashy from Caleb Williams, but he didn't need to be. He didn't need to be flashy. He was consistent. Made the passes when he needed to. Though the deep ball accuracy is a bit concerning. Those were his only incompletions of the game. when he tried to stretch the field. So there's got to be they got to work on that in practice. I think that's the big thing, because of course the big thing here has just been getting him up to speed, making sure he's comfortable in an NFL system, and that's the goal for any rookie quarterback in the first couple weeks. So that's the goal, and they did a good job because now he understands. I feel like he's kind of understanding what a game plan looks like, though I do worry about the fact that there were only 10 completions to pass catchers. 7 of the completions Williams threw were to DeAndre Swift. Again, I will be more in depth with these games because I watch them and I dissect them. This is the team I'm covering, kind of. So I thought it was just it was a good performance. It was a good performance. I think it's the most complete performance the team has put out this season. Probably Williams' best performance of the year, because of course you can talk about 363 yards, but again, he did that with 54 passes, and he turned the ball over 3 times. This was a balanced attack. Only threw 23 passes, completed 17 of them. But a little over 150 yards and a touchdown, no picks, no turnovers. But the ground game was actually effective. You look at only 157 passing yards, but when you see the rushing game had nearly that mark as well, you can understand it was a much more balanced attack from the Bears offense, and they put up 3 touchdowns. They put up 24 points, 2 rushing touchdowns, and the passing touchdown that Caleb Williams did throw was really nice in the back of the end zone on the dig route. I thought that was really good. To DJ Moore. So, I like that fade route. So I thought that was really cool. Really good job from Williams on that throw. And, he looked really good. Matthew Stafford made the throws when he needed to. He didn't really neither quarterback really hit any deep shots. But it really felt like they didn't need to. That type of game was really locked up, and the defensive line from both teams was getting to the quarterback to the point where it didn't feel like either team really could get to the quarterback in that sense, or really could air it out. But they played to the team they were playing, and I think that was the strength for Chicago, is that they finally figured out their strengths. DeAndre Swift is not a hand it off and plow up the middle type of guy. He's, he benefits from a good run blocking scheme, and he works well out the backfield when pass catching. And so, and then Roschon Johnson's the guy that should be the guy that you run up the middle with. Same with Khalil Herbert, but he didn't get any carries. So, but, Shane Waldron had a couple of bad play calls, but I didn't feel like it was nearly as bad as what we saw against Indianapolis. So I was thoroughly pleased with the offensive performance, putting up 24 points and looking balanced, looking like, competent. So, that's a good start moving forward. They get the Panthers next week. Should be a chance to build on that. Though the Rams are now in a 1-3 hole, they get the Packers next at home, but it's Green Bay. That's tough. Before they go into their bye week, they could go into their bye week 1-4, and that is a really, really bad, really bad position to be in. But going forward, we're going to go ahead and transition. Let's see. We're going to go ahead and go to Washington, Arizona. Daniel Daniels did what he needed to do. They're making... And the one thing I will say that I've noticed about the differences, because I know... Because frankly, the most frustrating thing about being involved with Chicago right now is the constant comparisons between Caleb Williams and Justin Fields and Jaden Daniels. Two guys that he will be directly compared to for the rest of his career and the rest of their careers. Jay Daniels looks like the better quarterback right now because the Washington offense is playing to his strengths. They're playing to what he knows, and the NFL defenses right now are having a bit of trouble preparing for that. And he's kind of surprising some of these defenses with some nice passes and some nice design runs. And frankly, that's on Cliff Kingsbury, who, obviously ran much better stuff in college. And it's really going to Jayden Daniels' benefit. His scheme's working. And I'd be interested to see how long this lasts. To me, that's what the interesting thing is. Because they looked really good. And their run game in particular looked really good. Had a couple of big rushing touchdowns. Jay Daniels only threw one touchdown in this game. He did throw a pick. And that wasn't really that good. He threw well. And they're playing to his strengths. Whereas for Caleb Williams, they're trying to force him to learn an NFL offense and get up to speed to what everyone else is playing as fast as they can, and he looks ready. He may not. Well, he may have a couple more. He may have had produced some more turnovers, and the team may be 2-2 instead of 3-1. I think that there is something to be said about the way that both teams are approaching their rookie quarterbacks. I don't think either one is wrong. But both QBs looking pretty good after a rough couple first weeks. Daniels is getting the highlights going. Williams is just kind of making things kind of happen. He hasn't had as many highlight plays. But I think that there's a difference. You can have all the highlight plays you want and not, frankly, be good in the long run. And you could just be a game manager and not, look that flashy, but your team plays well. So there's plenty of differences between the two quarterbacks and the situations they're in. I'm not one that wants to compare them right now. They're both 4 weeks. They haven't even played 5 weeks. I think their inevitable clash in Week 8 will be pretty interesting, and I think will be really cool to watch in the nation's capital. But other than that, Cardinals' defense looked really bad. Really, really bad. They are gashing them right now. And, it's not working. It's not working, and Cardinals' defense, I think, is the biggest concern right now. They had a couple good games. 10 points allowed to the Rams, 20 to the Lions. But 42 to the Commanders is not my idea of success here. But Washington gets Cleveland next week. They very well will be 4-1 going to that Week 6 game against Baltimore. Which I did hear could have been flexed into Sunday Night Football, but it looks like it's too late to do that. So we're stuck with Bengals-Giants on Sunday night that week. But I will be watching that Washington-Baltimore game and with a high degree of interest. So, I like what's going on there in Washington right now. And Arizona's got a tough test against San Francisco next week. So I think that's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But, speaking of the team that they play next, the Arizona Cardinals have got to go up against the San Francisco 49ers team that looked like the San Francisco 49ers against New England. They looked like the better team against the Patriots, and they should have. And they played like they should have, winning 30-13. They looked competent. They looked composed. Deebo Samuel was back. George Kittle was back, and they were in control of this game all the way through. Brock Purdy threw one pick in the end zone, but, New England had a couple bad, turnovers. Couldn't get anything going. This is what we thought New England was going to be at the start of the year. They had that big win Week 1 against Cincinnati, but, dude, this is why I said before the season started, this is why I said the New England Patriots were going to be the worst team in the league this year. It's why I said they were going to be the worst team in the league. I didn't like their situation. I don't like their offense. I think Ramondre Stevenson's probably their best offensive player. And I think they're smart to sit Drake May and not have him die in that pocket like Jacoby Brissett has been. But, yeah, Patriots stink. And frankly, they might luck themselves into a win. They get the Dolphins next week. That is going to be a snooze fest. Holy cow. Dolphins Patriots might actually finish 9-6. That might actually be a 9-6 game. But I mean, New England just straight up does not look good. I don't know. I don't know, man. This is exactly what I thought New England was going to be, and I think they're taking the right approach to Drake May. Let him sit, learn the system, and have him ready to go next year when they get someone to help him out. Because frankly, he's not going into a good scenario at all. Now here's the thing: watch if Drake May is the one quarterback. Drake May and Michael Penix, they're the two quarterbacks that are sitting right now. J.J. McCarthy is sidelined because of injuries, so that's different. Out of the first-round quarterbacks this year, I want to see if Michael Penix and Drake May sit for a year or two, in Penix's case, depending on Kirk Cousins and everything, and then play much better in year two than you'd think, are outplaying Daniels or Williams or Nix. We're going to have a serious conversation about when you're taking a first-round quarterback and whether or not they should be starting right away or sitting. Because some of the best quarterbacks that have come out of these most recent drafts, they're sitting for a year. Mahomes sat for a year. Jackson sat for a year. They were planning on sitting Herbert, but he was able to come in and light the league on fire. Let's see. Jordan Love sat for 3 years. We're going to talk about that. Like, I don't know, man. There's something to be said about it. Baker Mayfield didn't start initially. He wasn't going to start initially his first year. Tua wasn't intended to start his first year either. Like, there are so many guys that maybe had to come in because of injury, but the plan was to have them sit. So, anyways, we're going to go ahead and keep moving on here. Because Patriots looked terrible. San Francisco looked like San Francisco. They looked as we expected them to be. They finally got another win. Because these last two losses have been brutal. Lost to Minnesota, lost to Los Angeles. Brutal losses there. Should not be taking those. Talk about a quarterback situation that does suck. Cleveland and Las Vegas. Both their quarterback situations are just terrible right now. Deshaun Watson does not look good. Granted, Cleveland did have a touchdown that was taken off the board late in that fourth quarter. That shouldn't have been a holding call, but sometimes it comes down to, can you make sure that a call like that does not affect the outcome? Are those types of plays not commonplace, or can you rally the troops after a call like that doesn't go your way? Can you make sure that you're not the one getting the short end of the stick? Can you? I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to say this. Can you make sure that these holding penalties or these penalties that set long plays back, can you make sure that they don't affect the rest of the drive? Can you overcome those types of things? That's the word I was trying to frickin' figure out this whole time. Can you overcome plays being taken away from you like that? Can you make sure that the refs are not deciding the outcome of the game for you? I think that's a testament to the struggles of Deshaun Watson. Las Vegas didn't look, outstanding either. Like, the game was really sloppy. It was just really sloppy. I didn't really think that there was much to take away from it. Vegas didn't look great. 2 wide receiver runs for their 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, like, I don't know. Nothing looked great in that game. But both quarterback situations are really bad, and this game proved it. Cleveland's going to be just... They're going to Washington. They're going to Washington, and that's a tough ask. And you got Las Vegas playing on the road against Denver, which could be a get-right game, but Denver's won their last 2 games, so, I mean, both teams are at a crossroads. And there's no Devontae Adams in Vegas as well. Max Crosby's hurt, too. Like, Vegas is without their 2 best players right now. Not good for either of those teams. Staying in the AFC West, the last afternoon game, well, it's Kansas City and LA. And, Chiefs, they find a way. I don't know what it is, but they find a way. Every week. I think I remember seeing it was 9 of their last 10 games, which all have been wins, by the way. They've got 10 straight wins. 9 of them have been by 1 score. They're finding a way to win 1-score games week in, week out. It's unreal. I'm telling you, it is unreal. And so, Chargers jump out to a 10-0 lead, and magically that offense can't do anything for the rest of the game. Rashee Rice goes down in the process, by the way, off a return on an interception. Mahomes, trying to make a play, injures Rashee Rice. And, well, they make it work. I don't know, man. It's weird. LA tries, they hang on, they're hanging around, and once Kansas City takes the lead late in the game, you're like, well, here we go. So that's tough. But Kansas City's 4-0. They're the other 4-0 team in the league. They get a long week. They play New Orleans on Monday night, and then they get the bye. So who knows? Who knows, man? It's going to be tough. But that's a tough loss for the Chargers. They go into the bye week. Now you're like sitting there 2-2. You're like, come back from the bye week against Denver. That's Arizona. So, I mean, they got 2 favorable games coming out of the bye week. But can they reverse? Can they take this game and learn from it? Because, frankly, their schedule is really favorable. Their next 5 games. Denver on the road. Arizona on the road. New Orleans at home. On the road against Cleveland. And then at home against Tennessee. So they go on a bit of a run here. But, yeah. Tough break for the Chargers. Looking to reassess things on the bye week. Talk about a shellacking on Sunday night. Baltimore just crushed Buffalo. That wasn't even close. Derrick Henry just gashing the Buffalo defense, and frankly, it wasn't the same after that. Man, that was a game-breaking play in the first quarter. Josh Allen struggled all day. Buffalo couldn't get anything going. Excuse me. And, yeah, Baltimore just dominated. This was the game that we thought Baltimore was going to have against Las Vegas. And this is the game that Baltimore was having against Dallas until the fourth quarter. Baltimore has proven that, hey, it's not all bad right now. They lost their first 2 games. They went to the 0-2 hole, but that does not mean that this team is out of it by any means. Though the schedule doesn't really ease up here. Their next 3 games are on the road against Cincinnati, which, depending on whether or not they kind of found something that works against Carolina, that could be tough. Then you got Washington at home, and then you're on the road against Tampa Bay. So, tough, interesting games coming up for Baltimore, but, man, they just absolutely destroyed Buffalo. And what is a game that they needed to have. Buffalo loses their first game of the year. They're 3-1. That's nowhere near panic time for the Bills. they're going to be fine. I'm not too worried about them. Buffalo's got Houston next week, which should be a really good game. And then they got the Jets. So, I mean, those will be more, I think, if they look like that again against Houston or New York, then maybe I'll start to worry about it a little more. But I'm not worried about Buffalo yet. You know, they're going to be fine. Anyways, we're going to go to the Monday night games. What a snooze fest. Dude, I got nothing for this game. This game was a nothing burger. Will Levis got hurt, and Mason Rudolph did basically something. He just basically went out there and didn't turn the ball over and didn't look like complete trash. And that's what needed to be done. Because that Miami offense looks awful. They look terrible. They have just 2 touchdowns in their last 3 games. And frankly, there was a good chance they didn't score again. Tyler Huntley was brought in to be the guy, and he didn't look good. I mean, dude, it just doesn't look good for Miami right now. They're lucky, honestly. They got New England next week on the road, but then they get the bye week, and frankly, they're very lucky that that's the case. Very lucky that that's the case. Because, my gosh, that offense looks so terrible. When it's like, you can do all you can defensively, but when you know going into a game that your offense can't score more than like 15 points, you're screwed. You're screwed. And so, yeah. Tough. It shows more about how bad Miami's gotten without Tua Tagovailoa than how, Tennessee looks. But then again, Tennessee's defense finally gets a chance to shine in prime time. They looked good again. Titans go on the bye week. They get the Colts right out the bye. I mean, I don't know. Kind of a nothing burger out of that one, but Seattle, Detroit. We'll go ahead and pivot to this. Now, I'm gonna try and get. This is a game I'm gonna use as an example of what my ideas of a great football game is, because this was a good football game. Good football game. Why I would not at the end of the year put this into my top, 10 football games type of stuff. Like, now granted, the final score wasn't as close as it was for the game 2 years ago they played in Detroit that was kind of followed this exact pattern. But the second half was just, Detroit scores. Seattle scored first. Seattle makes it a 1-score game. Detroit makes it a 2-score game. Seattle makes it a 1-score game. Detroit makes it a 2-score game. Seattle makes it a 1-score game. Blah, blah, blah. It was just a repeating pattern. It didn't feel like the defenses could get any sort of stop. And it didn't feel, yes, live chat. It didn't feel like the Lions, were going to, be stopped. The Seahawks defense couldn't perform and make a stop and get the Seahawks the ball back down 1 possession. And when they did, that was the best part of the game. That was, I think, where the first time where the game I felt like got really, felt like there was a lot of tension. Because I felt like they were just kind of playing out there. Detroit was kind of moving the football. And frankly, Seattle couldn't do anything. Because guess what? Jared Goff didn't throw an incompletion. He did not throw an incompletion. To you. Follow your passion, things will work out. Thank you. Yeah. Jared Goff didn't throw an incompletion. And it showed. But then again, he didn't really also wow me with his performance. He didn't throw an incompletion, but a lot of his yards were from yards after catch. So the receiving game and the skill position players just absolutely dusted this Seattle defense, and they had 0 answers. 0 answers. So that's the big takeaway. because Seattle tried. Geno threw for almost 400 yards. Didn't matter. Didn't matter. His team was never within one score. No one's going to care because his team was never within one score. His offense was clicking. Doesn't matter. And this is a game is a perfect example of why I would prefer a game to be in a game that goes 24-21 rather than and is one score the entire way or close to it. And it feels like both teams are like pushing and pulling in the game, as opposed to a game like this where it really did feel like Detroit was in control of that game and the defenses just kind of were playing weak, as opposed to both teams just making crucial plays offensively. Because the defense couldn't get any stops, Detroit, coasted, and that's all they needed to do. So this was, but still, I'm not saying this was a bad game, because this was still a good game and a game worth watching. The difference though, this is going to be a good game to watch just casually, have a good watch with your friends, especially if you have no interest. It's just a good game to watch. But no one's going to be talking about this game really at season's end when it comes to... No one's going to be talking about this as an instant classic. No one's going to be talking about this as one of the best games of the season, coming to the end of the year. So that was the whole point I was going to try and make there. But anyways, it was a great week of football. I don't really have much to say here. If anyone's got any questions about any game, about my thoughts about things, I will. I can answer some, but other than that, I'm gonna get out of here. This was dropped a little while ago, but I'm gonna finally get to it. I kind of wanted to go through each game before really getting into some of these other things. I had the Lions and the Bengals in the Super Bowl. I don't know if I agree with that. I think the Lions is a good pick, but the Bengals is a bit of a... I like Burrow, and I like what he's been doing, but I don't think they're going to be able to get it done. Especially with the 0-3 start. I think they can make it to the playoffs, but I don't know if it's going to be, to a point where they can go all the way and win the Super Bowl and get to the Super Bowl. So... I think that the Lions are a good trendy pick this year, though, too. So I don't hate that choice either. So that's my take on that Super Bowl pick. But if anyone has any questions, I can kind of gloss over a couple things here in the next minute or two. But I kind of wanted to get through this, discuss. But see, and get out of here. Make sure you guys can get out of here and everything. We'll be saying I'm really excited for that Tampa-Atlanta game, week 5, Thursday night. I'm not going to guarantee anything, but I will say right now, I think that'd be kind of fun to go through and sit down and watch and stream and do just watch with you guys. I think that would be pretty fun. So, wouldn't be a bad idea to do here soon. I like that idea. I feel like this would be a good game to cover too. But yeah. I think on paper this is the best Thursday night game so far this year. And I think I think this one has the best chance to live up to the billing of being a primetime game. I think that Jets-Vikings game in London's going to be cool. But yeah, I guess my 3 standouts on Sunday for games to watch. Bills-Texans for sure. You're probably going to want to watch that Packers-Rams game because despite the Rams being 1-3, they've played competitive in, 3 of their 4 games so far. They've just kind of struggled to close. And then I'd say watch that Bengals-Ravens game. Those are probably the 3 best games. It's a bit of a weaker slate on Sunday. But that's, we got the bye week starting. Detroit, LA, Chargers, Philly, and Tennessee are all off. So the week's trimmed. I think, honestly, the best game on paper right now that I'm intrigued about is that Thursday night game, which is something you don't say very often. I do like the Monday night game. I think the primetime slate is really good this week. Dallas and Pittsburgh on Sunday night, New Orleans, Kansas City on Monday night, and then Tampa Bay, Atlanta on Thursday. And then the other isolated game, the Jets and Vikings, is going to be a pretty good game too. So it kind of leaves the Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon slates to be a bit empty, but nothing too bad. I like what we got going here in week 5. But yeah, if we don't have any more questions or any other comments, that's going to be it for the stream. Thanks for watching and tuning in and listening to me kind of talk about the week here. And yeah, I don't know. Subscribe if you want to see more of these live streams and, get involved in the community and everything. Do all that type of stuff. And yeah, I will see you guys later. Take care, guys. Bye.